In the opening scene, we see a lady, Hannah, in her beautiful wedding dress. She is excited because she is about to get married to the man she loves. Her sister and mother are helping her get ready and making sure she is looking gorgeous for her special day. While this is going on, Josh is also at another event center waiting for his bride, Becca, to be ready for their marriage, but instead, he receives a text message asking him to meet her at the back. The two are experiencing a terrible moment as both their partners break up with them at the same time. Marcos, Hannah's fiancé, breaks up with her through her sister, and Becca breaks up with Josh directly without allowing him to talk her out of it or answer her question, as she hands back the ring to him. Hannah bursts into tears, rushes to the bathroom, and locks herself when she receives the news. Her mother and sister try to console her while she cries and find an excuse for Marcus, but all they are saying is that she keeps falling on deaf ears because she feels sad for trusting a man who will break up with her in a few minutes of their marriage. Seeing that her family will not give up, she decides to run away and escape through the window. She then runs angrily to sit down on a bench in the garden. Her anger does not allow her to see that someone is sitting there with a drink, until the last minute she is about to sit down. Seeing Josh, Hannah assumes he is part of the groom's family, and tells him the wedding has been called off before she realizes they are in the same dilemma as their partner both stood them off on their wedding day. They sit beside one another and start talking. They both cannot figure out what happened to their relationship and do not know what to do. Hannah sees the honeymoon as the reward for being married, and she has made proper plans for the honeymoon. Josh then advises her to still go on the honeymoon, which will sound like competition for him. She agrees with him but tells him he must also go on a honeymoon. Josh did not have any honeymoon plans with his partner, but Hannah insisted he should find a random place and go on his honeymoon as well since he is not planning to go on his honeymoon with his partner. Josh agrees with her, and they both decide to go on a solo honeymoon and use it to get over their breakup. They introduce themselves to each other before Hannah turns to go back. But just as she is about to go, Josh calls her and tells her everything will be okay, which gives her a form of confirmation that all will be okay. The next scene shows Hannah's sister and mother trying to talk her out of the honeymoon plan because she is going alone. They try to use different things, like the new gift she receives, and ask her to call Marcus to see if he made a mistake. She breaks the new gift and calls Marcus in their presence, and her call goes to his voicemail. This makes them angrier. She then carries her traveling bag and leaves the house for the airport. Hannah sits down, waiting for her flight at the airport, and while checking through the magazine, she sees an advertisement for marriage and rips it apart angrily. The lady beside her stands up, concluding that she is unstable. Josh enters the airport and heads to where Hannah is sitting. He sees her and greets her. The random flight he booked is going to Hawaii, which happens to be the location for Hannah's honeymoon. He thinks it is faith, but Hannah does not believe in it. When it is time for them to board the plane, Hannah starts having cold feet, but encouragement from Josh convinces her to continue on the journey. They tell one another to enjoy their honeymoon. Getting to Hawaii, Hannah sees someone waiting for her, which her runaway groom had planned had they gotten married. She angrily rips the paper the driver is carrying to welcome her as a couple, puts her bag into the boot without any help, and tells the driver they are not waiting for anyone again. Josh, on the other hand, enters the airport and looks around randomly to see the poster of a location that looks adventurous to him. He decides to go to the location for his solo honeymoon. He did not see the full banner, which indicates that it is a location meant for romance because someone is blocking the lower part of the banner. Hannah gets to the resort, and she is welcomed with joy. She explains her predicament about coming a day early and changing her plan. Even though Kailani, one of the receptionists, feels as if there is more to the story she is not telling, she later realizes she is alone and not with her husband. At first, she thinks her husband is late based on the way Hannah describes the situation before finding out the truth. Just then she sees Josh, and they are both surprised that they are in the same resort yet again. Josh is now seeing that the resort is not a place for adventure but for couples. Kailani tries to stop Hannah when she is about to get to her room because they have arranged the room for married couples coming for honeymoons. Hannah enters just as they are about to remove everything, which makes her sad. But she takes the wine and cakes while telling them to burn the petals and everything else. Josh, on the other hand, is trying to decide which of the activities he will participate in but is also still waiting for a message from Becca, and the message is not coming. Hannah speaks with her mom after settling down in the resort. She cries and tells her mom how much she misses Marcos, even though she doesn't know what love is anymore. Her mom advises her that maybe finding the meaning of love is what she needs to figure out. Hannah has a list of things she wants to achieve during the honeymoon with an app. The first thing is her drinking wine at sunset. She then drinks her wine while the sun is setting. The next day, Josh calls his friend in Hawaii while coming from surfing on the sea to tell her he is there, and they fix an appointment to see her later in the day so that he can explain the situation to her. Hannah, on the other hand, does not wake up until she receives a call from her sister, who is worried about her and tells her she will be coming to Hawaii. But Hannah discourages her from coming, saying she is fine and that if anything goes wrong, she will text Josh. This shows that they have exchanged numbers. Her sister is surprised they are there together, but Hannah keeps assuring her that she is doing great, needs to be alone, and wants to figure something out. The next day, Hannah steps out to sit beside the pool and enjoy the ambience with a drink, which is where she meets two guys, Carl and Nick, who are a gay couple. They keep pestering her about her spouse, who may be a man or a woman. She tries to avoid the discussion as she does not want to keep telling people about her situation, and just as they keep disturbing her, Kailani sees her and rescues her from them. She takes her back inside the resort and asks her what she plans to do. Hannah then talks about her list and the things she wants to do. She shows her the list, and luckily she knows someone who will help her with one of the tasks. Kailani also wants to know if she is doing fine, and she expresses how she is feeling to her and that her task now, as instigated by her mother, is to find out what love is and see if maybe she will find out what was wrong. Just then, Josh enters the building shirtless and greets them. Hannah explains how similar things have been for her and Josh to her. Kailani categorizes it as faith, which Hannah does not believe in, but she did not argue this time around. She excuses them when they start talking about the list, and then Carl and Nick show up. When they see Josh, they assume he is Hannah's husband, so they invite them to a couples competition. Hannah does not want to go, but with Josh's encouragement, they convince her to join the competition. After Carl and Nick are out of sight, Hannah and Josh agree to meet back for the game in the next few minutes. But she does not forget to slyly mention him putting on a shirt. His body has been distracting her, but she will not say it out loud. The competition is about to start, but Hannah is not pumped up for it. After seeing how competitive everyone is about it, she decides to get involved alongside Josh, demanding that they win the competition. Despite their willingness to win, Carl and Nick win the competition. But participating brings some excitement for Hannah and Josh, and they are glad they participated. Just as they are talking about the game, Josh's friend Alice comes around. He introduces her to Hannah. She tries to talk to them, but Hannah excuses herself for a hula lesson, one of the activities on her list. Alice then takes Josh away to talk so that he can tell her what happened to him. Kailani takes Hannah to where she will learn her hula dance and introduces her to her aunt. She gets invited to the rehearsal even though she does not have a partner. The dance begins, and Hannah is enjoying herself up until the moment the instructor asks participants to hold themselves, and there is no one to hold her. She tries to continue but feels odd among other people, which makes her decide to leave. During this period, Josh has explained his situation to Alice, and she points out that they did not properly make plans for the wedding before deciding to get married. She also makes him aware that he has to be honest with himself about being in love with Becca, which sparks deep thoughts in him. In the next scene, Hannah is sitting alone, and Kailani sees her. She expresses herself by saying that she does not believe sticking to her list will be difficult. But Kailani encourages her and decides to change things by taking her away from where she is sitting and sending her to a bus that is taking her away from all the lovey-dovey happiness. Hannah goes along with the flow and enters the bus. On getting to the location and ordering a drink, she sees Josh, which surprises her. Josh has been brought earlier to this location by Alice. They share their love story, which starts with Alice and ends with Hannah. Just then, a friend of Alice, Vic, comes around to fix something by the bar they are discussing, and she tells them to take a walk. They agree, but seeing the way Alice talks to Vic, Josh makes sure he asks if there is something between them, but she tells him to scoot. As Josh and Hannah are walking, Josh can see the app she is using for the list and also requests to see the list. He is intrigued as the list is comprehensive. He then asked if she would do some things on the list with him. She refuses and says it is a personal thing, but he convinces her. Hannah is left with no choice but to agree with him. The next day they are outside kayaking in the sun. Carl and Nick see them and challenge them to a race. While they are racing, they see the beautiful sight of a big fish giving them a show. The next location they are going to does not suit Hannah because it was Marco's idea, which makes Josh convince her to change her direction in that regard, and she agrees to do something else. While going hiking, they see some people by the waterfall, and Josh suggests they join them, but she declines because she analyzes a lot of things that might go wrong. She confirms she is not doing it when she sees people jumping from the rock to the water. They end up talking about what Josh is doing for a living, and he explains that he is currently not working, but he was the one who designed the app she has been using to organize her life. They also talk about him defining who he is, which may be the reason why he is at the resort. When they get back to the resort, Nick and Carl see them and are excited to tell them how they spent time with Turtle. After that, they offer them dinner at the jungle bungalow that they wanted because they already have another reservation on the boat. Just like earlier, Hannah wants to reject the offer, but Josh convinces her to accept it. After Carl and Nick leave, they also decide to see one another by 7 p.m. Josh and Hannah have started liking one another. He is already checking her pictures while preparing for dinner, while Hannah sends the same pictures to her family. Later in the day, Kailani leads them to the jungle bungalow, where they have a good time. They see a great view, which makes Josh feel lost in thought for a while. They have a wonderful dinner, and Hannah confesses that this is the first time she has stopped thinking about Marcos for a while. It appears she is already getting over him. They share the things they love about their partners and the things they do not like. They also talked about some things their partner complained about before Hannah started feeling sleepy. They say their goodnight with a little argument about who should sleep in the room and who to go back to the resort. Just then Hannah mistakenly calls Josh my Josh. She is already feeling something for him. After he leaves, Hannah sees the bright moon and texts Josh to see what she is seeing. Her phone rings, and she thinks it is Josh, only to see it is a call from Marcus. She ignores the call and goes to sleep. The next day, Josh wakes up and starts meditating, while Hannah wakes up late to see a series of missed calls from Marcos. She reports the situation to her family, and they tell her to come back home so that she can talk to him, but she disagrees with them. While they are still on the phone, she receives several messages from someone who is making her laugh. She takes an excuse from her family before dropping the phone to meet Josh. Hannah tells Josh that Marcos calls her, and she does not pick it up because she feels happy currently. She reveals she will not be going along with her list and asks Josh to pick any adventure of his choice that they should go on. He picks a haunted house, which she does not want because she gets scared easily, but she eventually agrees to go on the adventure. After that, Hannah sees Kailani, who tells her that Hawaii takes their ghost stories very seriously before leaving her. She then starts panicking because when they get to the haunted place, the atmosphere compels her to tell him to leave as she is feeling afraid. Josh and Hannah then hang out with Alice and a friend. They talk about figuring out love, and Alice's friends explain that the more time they try to figure out love, the more time they waste. Hannah then says one major turnoff about Marcos is that he depends on his mother, and even though she suggests he stop, he is still someone who always depends on his mom. Josh also talks about his own love story. The men head to get an additional drink, and Alice advises Hannah that she is doing well. The disappointment she experienced might be for a lesson, or for something that will take her where she needs to be, and it is up to her to accept it. In the next scene, Hannah is on the phone with her sister, and she explains that she has not returned Marcos' phone call because she is having fun without him. She has realized that she can do all the things she wants to do, but while she is with Marcos, it always feels like a bad situation. She then ends the call because she is going somewhere with Josh. Hannah and Josh are on their way to achieving one of the items on her list, but while going, she decides to change things and not be boring. She then sees where Nick and Carl went on the road and decides to go there. They enjoy themselves in the sea and with the fish and turtles before leaving. While they are heading back to the resort, Josh takes her to where she will get the concoction drink, which is also on her list. She rushes in excitement to the vendor and gets one for herself. After getting the drink, they start talking, and he suggests she should do away with the list if she can achieve something without it. They also accept that their solo honeymoon has been the best time they have relaxed in a while. Although their previous relationship is good, they always feel like a train that never stops moving, and that gives their exes credit for breaking up with them. They get back to the resort, and Hannah sees Marcos waiting for her. He is here to apologize for breaking up with her. She introduces him to Josh before he excuses them. Marcos starts apologizing, but Hannah feels it is a lost cause. He keeps persisting, believing things can go back to the way they used to be between them. Hannah asked him for the reason why he broke up with her, and his explanation did not make sense to her. He claims that he already envisioned what their married lives would be like and felt like he had already lived it, which made him panic. He then suggests that he will join her to do the things she wants to do, and just then, he mentions his mother's involvement in him coming to meet her. This makes her feel uneasy, but she decides not to express herself. Josh, on the other hand, loses an adventure buddy. He reveals that Hannah is with Marcus and he has spoken to Becca, but she asked for some time to think things over. Alice believes he should give her time and she offers him the opportunity to stay at her venture, till she comes back from a getaway with Vic, which will last her about a month. He believes the time frame will allow him to figure out where he is supposed to be. The next day, Carl and Nick see Marcos with Hannah instead of Josh, and are confused by the change of situation. So, they ask about him and she reveals that Marcus is her fiancé while Josh is just her friend. Marcos does not perform well in the activity, and he is doing it like they are forcing him to do it. Afterward, he asks Hannah if they can go somewhere and talk. He then excuses himself to prepare, which allows Carl and Nick to ask who he is again because their relationship is so awkward. Hannah herself is now confused. While at the beach bar, Hannah asks Marcos how he knows he is in love with her, and his answer is not confusing, because it feels like she is a good coworker and not someone he is in a romantic relationship with. The waiter brings some drinks, and Hannah is confused about the drink, but Marcos explains that it is the coconut drink she has been longing to have, and he even tells her to enjoy it, because just that cup costs $45. Unknown to him, the one he is serving her is not the one she is demanding, but she decides not to say anything. Hannah decides to pack and will soon be leaving. She then goes to Alice to look for Josh to say goodbye to him, but she is not able to because he has gone surfing with Vic. She appreciates Alice for her generosity, and the elderly lady advises her to follow her heart. While she is going back to her room, she runs into Carl and Nick, who are also leaving. They give her a card to reach out but tell her to make sure she is happy. She also appreciates Kailani for helping her enjoy her solo honeymoon. They say their goodbyes as Kailani also advises her on love. Just when she is about to leave, she sees Josh coming back from surfing to tell him that she will be leaving with Marcus to regroup. Just then, Marcos interrupts the discussion by asking for a room key. After that, they are about to leave one another, but Hannah calls him back, and they start talking about how the week has been crazy and how they both make their solo honeymoon amazing. They then leave one another, but deep down within them, they know there is more to their time together than friendship. Hannah gets back home with Marcos, and he brings along a gift, which is the cup she can use to make the coconut drink that will feel like their honeymoon destination. This looks awkward to her, and she tells him to sit down. She then tells him he is right to call off the wedding because something is wrong with their relationship. She then confirms that she agrees with him and does not want the relationship with him any longer. He does not understand her at first, but she explains well and ends their relationship properly while thanking him for taking the bold step. They hug themselves with tears as they say goodbye. Josh goes to see Becca so that they can clear things up as well. They start talking, and they both agree the breakup was the best for them, as they did not make any plans past the wedding day, which is not fair to either of them. Josh realizes he needs to connect with himself before trying to connect with anyone, and they both are happy with the decision. In the next scene, Hannah is in the house with her mom, and she starts asking questions to know how to be in love. Her mom tells her that you will just know when you see the person. Josh, on the other hand, buys a house and starts making plans for a new business. Sometime later, Hannah goes out to get a night drink, and she sees the moon, just like when she was in the honeymoon location, and she decides to text Josh to look up. She collides with someone only to realize it is Josh, who is also trying to text her to look up. What a coincidence, like the universe is drawing them together. They start taking a walk and catching up with one another on the things they have been doing since they left one another. They then talk about their relationship, which reveals that they are single as their exes are no longer in the picture. Just then they realize they are back to when they met in the beginning. And this time Hannah calls it faith. She reveals she has found out what love is when he asks her if she has. 1 year later, Hannah and Josh get married, and their family and friends are there to celebrate them.